All right, buenos dias, good morning, aloha kakahiaka, ohayo gozaimasu, and welcome to our Actives U.S. English school. We're so grateful on this month of September, coming off last month's most wonderful and awesome active school by Noemi and Gracia. They did a wonderful job. Just like Colton and we excuse him today, and I'm feeling him today. He always are excited for these active schools. It's probably one of our most important and most informational events that we actually have here on Zoom in the United States. We receive great instruction, great motivational information, but more importantly, we get to know certain presenters, leaders, and distributors that's in your own backyard. I think we see them on Zoom a lot, participating in our corporate update calls recently, but sometimes we don't know who they are, and sometimes we don't know their story. And so this active schools not only gives us an opportunity to learn from the best, but also to get to know them. And that's what makes actives the family it is. You're all part of the family, and getting to know our family members are just as important as about the information that they give us. And so today, we're grateful to have two beautiful, outstanding ladies that have a wealth of knowledge in their own right. And I'm honored at this time to introduce our first speaker, Liliana Cardenas, who is, you guys won't believe it, twice as smart as Ian and myself combined. Like I said, not only is our presenters very, very good, but they're smart. And for example, Lily, who we call her, is from Venezuela originally, but she's a lawyer. You guys know that she's a lawyer. So I would love to see her and David Brown go at it one of these days and present a case of why Actives is the best company. I don't know who would win that debate, but I've got the opportunity to meet her, and her mind is brilliant in all facets. By her being a lawyer, she also then moved to Mexico in 2009 because of the political situation that there was in Venezuela. So she worked as account manager at Airgas. And so she has, corporate knowledge as well, managing people, managing accounts. And then she found this. She was introduced to the product in December of 2022. And then by the ending of January of 23, she fell in love with the product. She fell in love with the opportunity, but more importantly, she fell in love with the people. And ever since that, she has attended every single event in Mexico. So she dedicated her life and her work to actives. She loves the science that's behind it, but she also loves what it does to people, the recovering in their health and the opportunity that it can change people's lives. And so she's motivated to help everyone's lifestyle change. She loves the company. She loves the story. She loves the community. And more importantly, she has a beautiful daughter that she loves just as much. And together, they're grateful to be here at Actives. But from someone who works at Actives, we are very grateful to have Lily here at our company. The last incentive trip that we had on a cruise there in the ABC Islands, I got to spend a couple days with Lily, and she is so welcoming. She knew that I didn't speak Spanish, and I was one of the very few on that trip that didn't speak Spanish. And so she made sure that I was welcome, that I had someone to talk to, whether it's on the beach or dinner time. She definitely extended the courtesy to make sure that I was welcome. And that's what she does with all those in her group. She makes sure that they're welcome, that they're loved. And Lily, we love that you are here with Actives um, as a leader, but more importantly, we're also very grateful that you're one of our presenters today. So I'll turn the time over to you.
Thank you so much for that amazing introduction, Stuart. It is such a pleasure to be here. I feel very thankful for the invitation. And thank you, everybody who connected this morning, 9 a.m. in a Saturday morning. That only shows how committed you are to your project and to your dreams. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so for those who don't know me, I am Liliana Cardenas. I am from Venezuela, the second city, the second largest city in Venezuela, Maracaibo. This is my family, my nuclear family. My parents, they already passed away, and my sisters, one lives in Spain, the other one lives in Venezuela still. And you know, I grew up with a lot of privileges. I was able to travel the world when I was very young. I went to private schools, but my parents, they were never around. They were working all day. And I remember thinking, when I grow up, I don't want this for my life. So that's why when I was, I'm trying to change the, okay. That's why when I was 18 years old, I became financially independent. I started working at the same time I was going to the university. And I was really like, I really want to have the same life my parents did. So when I was in my early 30s, I already had passive incomes. Somehow I bought this trailer that I would rent to the oil industry, oil companies, and I was doing really good. But the thing, because it was the political situation of the country. That's when I decided to move to Mexico with my husband at the time. And we started a company. I sold everything I had in Venezuela and invested here in Mexico. So in the meantime, my mom got really sick. She got sick with breast cancer, and after a while, she passed away. Uh, in that moment, the company was doing good. My husband was running it, and I decided to stay at home. I became pregnant with my daughter Emma, and you know that brought joy back to my life. And I decided to stay at home. So that's what I really wanted for my life, you know, to be a present mom. But eventually, the company didn't do that well, so it went bankruptcy, and it was really bad. My husband had to find a regular job, and he would travel all the time. And when I realized, and when I didn't expect it, my marriage was over. So after that, after a few months, he was fired from his job. So there I was in another country with a very young daughter, no house, my car broke. It was not possible to repair it. So I was with a young daughter in another country, no family, no house, no car, no savings. That's on us. We didn't have any savings, and I had to start over. So I started like selling arepas. I found a job that paid very low, very bad salary. And so since it was not enough, I had to start working as a real estate independent agent. So while I was doing that, my daddy got really sick and eventually died that same year. They say things come together, happen together, and there is a reason for that. But it was like that. So eventually I got a better job with a better salary. But there I learned what it was like to deal with mistreatment and being treated really poorly because I needed the money. I had no option, you know? You don't know how strong you are until you have no option. So I had to deal with that. So after a few years, living like this, not seeing my daughter, she would cry, "Mommy, I don't see you. I don't get to see you," because I was working all day. What I didn't want. So after a while, I didn't have time to grieve my daddy's my daddy passing away. I didn't have time to grieve my marriage ending. So I broke down emotionally. I was going through many things at work, and I broke down emotionally. I had like three anxiety attacks in one night. After a month, I like fainted for no reason. I have a scar here because I fainted and I had my head. And then I realized I had to change. I could not keep going like that. I had a young daughter that needed me. I could not continue like that. So then I understood I was feeling like a victim. I felt like the victim of Venezuelan's government, of my ex-husband, of my bosses, and I was focusing on what was not in my control. Then I took my power back when I understood that I had to focus on that, on what was on my control, to heal my wounds, to work on me. And when I did that, everything changed. All of a sudden, these people from for Airgas, from Air Liquide, a French company, called me. I swear to God, I don't know how that happened. They called me and they offered me a much better job. They offered me a job where I was not going to be worried. After many years, I was not going to be worried about if I was going to be able to pay the rent at the end of the month, if it was going to be enough. So I was so happy to have that opportunity. It was home office. Oh my God, I was able to see Emma again. We were so happy. But after a while, you know what? I didn't like what I was doing. I was just doing it for money. I didn't like it. And life happens in a good way. This was amazing. I went to this foundation. They helped kids with cancer. That's how I met Marta Diaz. I went to donate some plastic cups, and she told me about this epigenetic technology that was helping all these kids that she was taking, and she was feeling and looking younger than before. And I thought that was fascinating. I started, at the time, I was presenting premenopause symptoms, and I had a very my rosacea. I have rosacea. It was totally out of control. So I decided to try the products, and 2 weeks after taking them, my rosacea was totally under control. I could not believe it. I could not believe it. So I fell in love with the products. I say, oh my God, this is it. And then I learned about getting to know them, Marta and Grecia's success stories. It was amazing how they started from nothing. At the end of the day, I was not so special. Many people was going through something similar that I went through. And it was amazing to see how they were doing with this amazing project. And then I learned about, I never learned before about networking. Never. Network marketing, never in my life. So then I learned about duplication, about how you could work with the organization, how your time, I mean, you didn't earn only for your work, but for your organization. It was amazing. And then I decided to start. They were doing everything with TikTok. I thought it was amazing because I had the other job and I was still working as a real estate agent. So the only way for me was doing it on social media. I feel so proud because that was so out of my comfort zone. I feel so happy because my daughter saw that. She saw, I mean, it was no option for me. I was like, I have to do this. I have to do this. So I did. It was so hard at first. It is easier now for me. And, then we went to this national event and I saw Carmen Gallego's success story. That's when I really felt it was possible for me. It's amazing, the power of success stories. And that's what I got. My why, more than giving my daughter the opportunities for her life and to fulfill her dreams and to give her everything she deserves. I learned that life comes everything can change in so soon with things, because of things that are not in your control, like the political situation, for example. I wanted her, and that's my why, I want her to know that when you really want something with all your heart, when you work hard, when you're determined, when you focus on what is in your control, you can achieve what you want. Dreams do come true. And there are many ways to do it, not only like the regular way we were taught. So for me, this way, the way to show her that, to enjoy the process, because she's been with me since the beginning of ACTIVZ. When we've been in trips, when we've been like, when I won my iPad, when I won the 500 clubs, like every single success, she's been there. And for me, that is so, so, so powerful. That is what moves me to do this project. So after that, I was like working with Earl Liquide, doing ACTIVZ, and as a real estate agent, and I became like really good at doing the TikTok, selling. I got the Moment to Escape trip. I got the 500 clubs. I got to A6. And then I saw how everything was turning apart. And I was like, but why? And you know what was missing? Duplication. I was used to sell. That's what I was doing. But I was not duplicating, and that was not sustainable over time. So I'm going to stop here to remark the importance of duplication. If we don't have duplication, we have no leverage. If we don't have leverage, we have no passive income. Those magic words that resounded like since I was really young, that freedom I was looking for that will give me the opportunity to be with my daughter. I will not find that if I don't duplicate. If I don't duplicate, I'm just doing regular sales, and that's not our dream. I love this image and I wanted to include it in the presentation because for me, it's like magic. It's the only way like you can multiply, your time. I was telling you, I was selling arepas. I was having to fulfill a regular job with schedule and everything. And then I was working as a real estate agent at night. And I didn't have enough time in my day. This blew my mind. So my invitation is for all of you to focus on duplication, okay? Network marketing is not about selling, it's not about recruiting, it's about teaching. And what do we need to teach? We need to teach the system. Where our system, we have the success guide that is amazing, that works, okay? And the Momentum Escape trips are meant for us to help our people duplicate, to help them. It's not about you winning the trip, it's about you helping your people, your team to win it. So this is like me starting over again. On March, they decided to close Early Kids offices in Monclova, and all my coworkers ran to find new jobs. I decided to focus on this project. I decided to do it the right way, duplicating and helping my team and building a sustainable business that will give me the dream, that will help me be with my daughter the way I'm spending more time with her right now. So I'm sure the best is yet to come. And I invite you all to do the same. Okay. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Lily. That was amazing. Thank you so much for sharing, everyone. Round of applause for Lily. It's so good to hear your story. I've heard it before, but I always learn new things about it. And so it's always such a pleasure to be able to hear from you and to hear how you're working on your business. We see that you have success. We see that you're qualifying for trips and getting to these places, going to these events. And that's really what it's all about, right? Is being able to have those experiences and to keep growing. And so actually something that we wanted to talk about even more so today is another guest that we have on the call. And this is somebody that is also starting to qualify for events. She hasn't been in actives that long, and she's already growing so much. Yeah, her rank is already growing. She's already producing a lot in her organization, and she's very young too. She's very young to be doing this, and it's really cool to hear her story as well. So without further ado, I'm going to invite Nicole Galvan to the call from El Paso, Texas. We just were there yesterday, actually, with a great meeting. David Brown and I were there. And we got to share and spend some time with Nicole and learn a little bit more about her team and meet a lot of people. So Nicole, welcome. How are you doing?
Hello, everyone. Good morning. Thank you, Ian, for the nice introduction. But yeah, it was so awesome yesterday. We had a lot of people. But I'm going to share my screen real quick before we get started. Okay, so for those of you that don't know who I am, because I know that I'm pretty new, I work alongside my mom, Rosy Guzman, and we have like this duo, right? We don't have the exact same goals, which is actually really it surprises a lot of people. But me and her do complement each other, but we are individuals, we would work in the very different ways. When I was first introduced to actives, obviously I got the pleasure of having my mom be the person that was constantly inviting me to actives. I ran out of fingers to count how many times she invited me, and I was super closed off to the idea of joining a network marketing company. My mom is a businesswoman, and she has had many businesses over time, and she's always involved in something new. So when she proposed actives, I really did think that it was more of the same stuff, right? And I was honestly kind of scared too and super closed off because I was studying in the medical field as well at the time. So it was very interesting how I ended up here after many events, many trips, many presentations. Well, what matters is that I'm here now and in love with the vision, in love with actives, with the people. Honestly, I can say from the bottom of my heart that I am very happy where I'm at. And so there's no doubt that with this mountain that we call actives, that there's ups and downs, right? And I wanted to share some of the things that I do to stay out of my own way and how I show up for myself and for my business. So at the beginning of my career at Actives, I was super excited, just like the rest of you, very ready to start sharing the opportunity with anybody that came near me breathing. If they were breathing near me, I was offering this opportunity, right? That's how I felt. By like the third person that told me like no, and I started really feeling the rejection, you start thinking and you start kind of questioning yourself in the decision that you made by joining something like this. You start coming up with almost like excuses, if you will, on why this business is not going to work for you. So it's not, oh, there we go. So a couple of those things that I would tell myself that maybe resonate with you is I'm not built for network marketing. People won't invest in themselves. I'm not tech savvy. I don't have enough time. My leader won't help me is one that I hear very often. And I do hope that we're on the same page. And if you have been in a situation where you're asking yourself these things, I hope that we all know, but if you don't, that's why we're here. We're all learning together. That these are not the issues. Like this actually has nothing to do with why our businesses aren't growing. It actually has more to do with something that's really hard to accept, and it's us, you know? I had to understand that I was the biggest obstacle. I was in my own way. And I say this with a lot of happiness, and I hope that you do too when you realize that maybe you're um in your own way, you know? It's something that should be celebrated because once you hit this point, you stop wasting time, really. You actually start working on the things that matter. So give yourself a pat on the back when you realize that you're the problem. A couple of things that I would do in this area, well, in this situation, which might sound familiar to you guys, is procrastination, perfectionism, avoiding prospecting, neglecting follow-ups, or not believing what I'm preaching. So a lot of these are pretty self-explanatory, right? But some that really I want to talk about is perfectionism. It's something that I suffer a lot of. And I know that maybe a lot of people that are used to doing things their way struggle with. And honestly, that puts you in a position where you're just overthinking what you're doing, you know? I want to invite you to just post the video, do the presentation, call that person, do all those things that you want to be you want them to be perfect, but you're actually wasting a lot of time and then you defeat the whole purpose of what you're doing, you know? Time is money. So let's forget perfectionism. It's something that I constantly work on every single day. These aren't things that I just worked on them once and then I became automatically good at everything. No, these are things that I face every single day of my work days at Actives. And it's something, some days are easier than others. Another thing that I want to touch on is the avoiding prospecting. I think this might have two different meanings. You know, you might not be reaching people at all because you're scared or whatever it is that the reason that you're not prospecting is. But for me, it specifically means I was too much in my comfort zone to where I wasn't reaching out to the people that I knew had the potential to grow my business. You know, I was not reaching out to the people that were challenging me, or it was like a challenge to almost get them to join Actives or explain to them, right? And this is what I'm talking about. doctors, nurses, teachers, all those professionals that you know might benefit from this opportunity, because this opportunity essentially is for everyone. We tend to be really, really scared and hold back almost on giving out that opportunity. So again, I invite you to stop. That's like one of the worst things that you can do, because you're deciding for somebody else. You don't know what their situation is. And I think that ties in with the not believing what you're preaching. You're devaluing the opportunity that ACTIVZ is. I think by now we all know how beautiful what we have here at ACTIVZ is. You know, we have a huge opportunity that can help millions of people to live a better life. And if you truly believe that, you wouldn't hold back on telling these people. But I think another reason why we hold back is because we feel like that person is almost better than us, and because they have a better degree, or they just know more about being a doctor or a nurse and stuff. And what I want you to understand is that you also show up to Zooms, you educate yourself, you know about epigenetic technology, that these doctors, nurses, this might be a new concept that you're not allowing yourself to explore with them because you're too scared. So don't decide for them. You know, you might be cutting your blessings short. You know, you don't know if they're going to say yes or not. And that brings me to neglecting the follow-ups, okay? I am the first person to tell you, keep trying. I know it might, and this is very hard for me also, being a lot younger, that like having to double text and continuously leave that door open for these people that might want nothing to do with you. It's really, really tough, but leaving that window open, you know, people might not get it the first time, maybe not even the second time, but I feel like sometimes people realize it later on in their lives when they're in need of something, or you know, just all of a sudden they might change their mind. And if you constantly leave that window open for them, it's easier for them to reach out. I feel like sometimes when we've already said no, we kind of feel like some type of way about reaching out again and saying, hey, you know what, I do want to join ACTIVZ, you know? Keep leaving that door open for these people, because you never really know. And then the last thing I want to talk about is not believing what you're preaching. And I talked about this briefly last Zoom call that we did. And it's, we preach about how amazing the lifestyle here at ACTIVZ is. I'm the first person to preach about it. I've been a victim of all the good things that ACTIVZ has to offer. And I'm telling you, if you don't believe that within your heart, and you won't be able to connect that to another person. You know, it's very obvious when you're not a product of a product, you know, something that Ryan always says. So self-sabotage is a huge thing. I hope that you learn how to deal with all of these things. It's a work in progress. And so that brings me to the next topic. Do you guys think that these are signs of showing up for yourself? No, absolutely not. This is exactly what I was doing at the beginning of ACTIVZ. And I want to show you guys these leaders that I'm sure that we're all familiar with. You know, we have Claudia, Ryan, David, Susie, all great leaders, you know. And I want to ask you, what do you think that these people have in common? Because they have very different characteristics, but there's one singular thing that makes them all very, very special. And if you don't know what it is, I'm going to tell you. It's the fact that they showed up for themselves. You know, David, Ryan, Claudia, Cristina, Danny, everyone, like just like you and me, they have dreams, you know, they have goals. They have things that they've wanted to do. If Ryan kept this really nice idea in his head, like for the rest of time, just because he didn't want to show up for himself and do the work, none of us would be here today, you know? So that brings me to showing up for yourself. Something that I had to learn how to do here at ACTIVZ, that I wasn't doing this before. And this is something that helps you not even just in ACTIVZ, just in your everyday life. You need to learn how to be there for yourself. So these are some ways that I showed up for myself, and I invite you to do them as well. So obviously set goals is something that I heard very often here at Actives, at all the presentations. They always tell you you need long-term, short-term goals. And honestly, I've been learning about it ever since like elementary. It's something very basic that I feel like not a lot of us take seriously. And please take it seriously. It does make a difference when you write everything down. As somebody that's taking 100%, that's doing actives 100% of my time, it gets busy. You know, you have all these Zoom calls, you have all these follow-ups that you have to do, you have a team that you have to mentor essentially. It gets tough if you're not constantly keeping up with these things, right? So having like a little notepad with all your daily goals, your short-term goals, and your long-term goals will help you immensely. With it kind of goes with the creator routine. You should have Ryan, David, they always say you need to have follow a system that works, right? So create your daily system. I almost want to dare to say, treat this as your 9 to 5. If you are doing this 100%, it's going to make the difference. You know, we want to give these 2 hours of our days just because it's what's recommended. But if you are really trying to take your business to the next level, you will have to add a little bit more effort, you know, listen to the people that came before you, know that it wasn't easy. I'm pretty sure Ryan, Susie, Claudia, all of them, they didn't come in actives just knowing how to do stuff, you know. I'm sure they failed and tried again, and now they, you know, they're professionals. But for us, we still have to do some of the work. That brings me to the next thing. Embracing the learning part of it all is amazing, and it's honestly my favorite part. With this, I'm talking about the events, the presentations, the Zooms, making mistakes. You're gonna learn from all of this, and trust the process and enjoy the process more than anything. Enjoy the people that you're surrounding yourself with. Make connections, reach if you don't have anybody near you. I know my mom had that issue for some time, you know, before she found her people. It gets lonely when you're, especially I feel like if you're in the US, there's not a lot of people that you can connect with locally. So I invite you to reach out to your upline. It doesn't matter, like get on Zoom, talk to them, learn from them, embrace every learning opportunity. And please, please show up to the events. The events, I promise you, they change your life. Every single time that I've been to an event, I take at least one thing from it that completely changes my perspective in the way that I'm doing things. Super important that we're going to these events. And that brings me of course, you're going to make mistakes. So you have to learn how to be kind to yourself. We're all living life for the very first time. For a lot of us, network marketing is a whole new thing that we're dealing with. And, you know, just give yourself a pat on the back here and then. By all means, do not enter victim complex. That's not what I'm talking about. Just try to be nice to yourself when you're making a mistake and learn from it, you know? And with the last thing, living out your potential. I wasn't doing that before actives, you know. Like I said, it took me a very long time to finally decide that I wanted to be a part of this. And every event, every vacation, literally everything, because my mom took me to every single event, every single trip, every single presentation. I would go home with all of this knowledge, and I knew it was good, you know. And it was almost a barrier that I had within myself. I knew I could make the videos, I knew I could make the presentations, I knew I could talk to people, but I wasn't living out my potential. And I feel like this last thing really ties in with the exposure that I've been putting myself into lately has brought me to experience a lot of people kind of like telling me, oh, I really like how you edit videos, or I wish I knew how to do that, or you know, just and I'm super grateful for, I'm open for constructive criticism all the time. So it's really nice to hear these things. But in those moments, all I can think about is the fact that I know that they can do it, you know? And a lot of the times it's us that that's getting in the way, just like me. Record the video. It doesn't matter if it sucks, you know, just do it. Do something, you know? That's the message that I want you to take from that. And then I'll end with this. And this is a quote by my mom, okay? I'm pretty sure somebody else has said it before, but I constantly hear it from my mom. And it's, your goals and dreams are your responsibility, no one else's. She says it in Spanish a little bit differently, but I know it sounds like a very simple quote that you might hear here and there, but the way my mom explains it is so true here at ACTIVZ. You know, she's always telling this to our teams and to me. And it truly does mean take the wheel of your own success. Like, take charge of your dreams. A lot of the times when we don't do the work, when we're self-sabotaging, it's really easy to want to blame everyone around you on why you're not succeeding. You know, it's really easy for me to blame my mom that I'm not reaching that rank that I want to reach, or that I'm not qualifying for that trip because she didn't remind me of my auto ship. You know, it's really easy to do those things. But at some point, you have to understand that you're living out your own dream and she's living out her own dream. So one of you has to be responsible for yourself, you know, and that person has to be you, essentially, because you're the one that wants to go to Cancun, not the person that your fifth person that you're trying to enroll to qualify for Cancun. Frankly, they don't care that you want to go to Cancun. You are supposed to plan ahead, in my opinion, you know, for those situations. It's your dream. So take that responsibility to really reach for the stars in whatever it is that you want to do, and just do it. And that's it. Thank you so much. I hope something that I said resonates with you. And thank you so much again for having me. I'm super excited to be here. I really do hope that the US starts making some noise, just like Mexico, you know? And we have a lot of potential here in the US. So I hope that begins soon.
Thank you, Nicole. That was awesome. And Lily, that was great. I don't know if I'm the only one that thought it was kind of funny when Ian was talking about how young Nicole is. I'm like, well, you're both pretty young. So I think that's kind of funny. But words of wisdom from both of them. You know, one thing that was in common that they both have in common with our next speaker is they talked about getting out of their comfort zone and doing some things that weren't easy. And our next speaker is Dr. Brett Earl, who's a member of our scientific advisory board. And I'm going to tell you that he has a lot in common with many of you. I think that probably a year ago, neither Lily or Nicole thought that they would be giving a presentation on Zoom to all these people about ACTIVZ. And I know that at some point, Dr. Earl also did something that was kind of unusual. He was an emergency room physician and doing great. And then because of some things that happened to him that he'll talk about, he decided to make a change. That opened him up, I'm sure, to criticism and questioning from other doctors and other physicians because he started to explore some things that he thought had a lot of value, but kind of went against what other people thought was wise to do. And how many of you have experienced that, where when you first start talking to them about an opportunity, their first reaction is, "Oh no, that won't work. That's that's not a good thing to do. Please don't pursue that." And yet, because you have a conviction, because you're a product of the product, you've seen other people and their success, you know that this is something that really has some value. And I think that that's something that Dr. Earl can totally relate to. So we're glad to have him here today. Some of you that have seen Dr. Earl in the past might look at him and say, "Well, what happened? You look different." And he'll probably tell you a little bit about those differences during his presentation as well. But again, thank you, Lily. Thank you, Nicole. And thank you, Dr. Earl, for joining us today. And we'll turn the time over to you now.
I think I'm unmuted. Not if you can hear me, please. Good. I got a thumbs up from Stu. Wow, that's all the qualification I need is thumbs up from Stu. You know, if you've got Stu
Dr.
on
Earl,
your
miss you
side,
so much.
got Stu on your side, you're well ahead of everything. So, well, thank you all for being here. I got to tell you, I've had some issues in my life over the last little bit, and I've been a little distant from ACTIVZ, and I've missed it. I miss the excitement of seeing someone who's young and ambitious, and really making that transition in her life. Nicole, good job. Boy, some just good core science and psychology there that was shared. I hope you really paid attention to that. And Liliana, your story is an inspiration. That's just amazing to hear about how you kept fighting. That's such a key piece in success in life, is you just keep fighting. And it makes it really is what makes a difference. It's those of us who look at what's ahead of us, and although it seems discouraging and challenging, you just get up that day and you tackle what's right in front of you. You do the best you can. You try to move the needle a little bit, and in the end, each of those little moves ends up making a big difference. And then when you connect with a company that's as amazing and vibrant as ACTIVZ, then you start to realize that the tide is turning. It's turning in your behavior, in your favor, and that really does make all the difference in the world. Some of you have heard my story before. I think it's been a little bit, so I am going to share a little bit as well. And I'm going to start with asking, maybe talking about this point is, why does this matter? Why do we share our stories? Well, the reality is all of us have the same story to some degree, where you get up every day, you have these challenges. Sometimes they're great, sometimes they're big. And you have to decide that you're going to embrace the challenge. You're going to help move that forward. And if you don't, then it gets really scary. Just a sec, my good old technology's freaking out on me for 2 seconds. Okay. So as David mentioned, I thought I went to school, medical school, and became an MD. That stands for mentally deranged. Stu will attest to that. The other one that I like is mostly deficient. That's what an MD stands for. And you get to that point in your life and you think, man, my life's set for me. I've got it made, and I'm just going to practice medicine, take care of patients. And there's this reward that you get in taking care of patients, hopefully helping them get better. But that wasn't what life, and frankly, what God had in store for me. He had a little different journey for me. I ended up really getting overwhelmed a little bit with emergency medicine to some degree. But for the most part, what happened was I ended up getting sick. I got a fungal infection in my lungs, and picked it up from an old barn that we had purchased. And my life started down this tornado of disaster. My health went south very quickly. And I saw, I was in medicine. I saw all the doctors. I saw the pulmonologist and the cardiologist and all these other physicians, and they all scratched their head and really didn't have any idea of what was causing the issue. And I reached this crossroads that many of you are familiar with, maybe not to this degree, but I reached a crossroads where I decided, I was either going to, and it was literally this. I remember sitting down in my basement, looking to accept the management, if you will, of my disease, the passive role, or I had the chance to just double down and fight harder and get after it. And fortunately, I looked at the pills I'd been prescribed that would have helped my symptoms, but not solved the problems. And I thought, no, this is not me. This is not who I want to be. And so I ended up setting the pills on the counter and started going to conferences. And, we talk about educating ourselves. Well, we follow the same pattern. When people talk about ACTIVZ being different, yes, but the reality is we all follow the same pattern. We go to in ACTIVZ, we go to ACTIVZ School, or we go to meetings and conferences, and we get together and we join together with people who know, who can move our needle with us a little bit. And the same thing happens with us if in the medicine side, is we're trying to go to conferences and improve ourselves. And so I started going to conferences, learning about all these different viewpoints of medicine. I had looked through a very narrow lens and started to look at these different viewpoints of medicine and realized, man, there is a lot of science and a lot of data that is not being presented to me as a physician that could benefit not just my patients, but me and my life. And so I started to change my paradigm, my thought process. It became, and for me, it was a matter of life and death. I mean, frankly, the black mold was killing me. And fortunately, again, blessings came my way, and I was introduced to people and processes and systems that really made a difference. And I started searching out these amazing products in order to make a change in my life. And I realized that there was a better way to practice medicine once I found this new way, this new path, and so started to change and transition away from emergency medicine to something I call foundational medicine. And that's where we look at the foundation of what's causing the problem. Well, in that journey, and I was doing, some rejuvenating injections, and David Brown came into the office, and he was seeing some success with my shots. And yes, just in case you're wondering, I used the biggest needle possible with David. I tried to get him to squirm and squeal as much as I could. He's a tough guy, so he didn't let me know that I'd hurt him ever, but I sure tried. Anyway, he started to notice some difference, and we talked, formed a friendship, and then he said, "What do you think about this and this?" and introduced me to the products at ACTIVZ. Well, being a little, I guess, obsessive compulsive to some degree, I couldn't just look at the product, the link, the Optimum, the genomics. I had to do a deep dive into the science. And that was my undoing. I'll tell you right now, that was my undoing. Once I got into the science and saw what these products could do, I realized that these were different. There was something unique about the products that they had selected. And I had been a part of, and I won't mention them, but at least 5 or 6 different multi-level marketing programs. And each time I saw good products, but then they would, after a while, they would water them down, or good people, but they would change the compensation program so that it fit the people at the top a little bit better. And the list went on and on. And I realized early on that ACTIVZ was very different. Between David Brown, his leadership team, they really had a commitment to you, and that made a difference for me. I value that in who I work with, and David Brown had that in spades. And the people he selected, he chose because they had the same passion and the same mission, if you will. So I started in, as I mentioned, looking at the science, butyric acid, tetrahydrocurcumin, and genomics, the NRF2 activator, and I was blown away with the science. And I thought, how could these be so powerful? Well, they're powerful because they're foundational molecules. And what do I mean by that? These are molecules that I use the word primitive, but really the deeper you get into into life, you realize there are these foundational principles and processes that really make a big difference. And then in this case, it's the product. It's a molecule that touches life on a very profound level. And it touches life in a myriad of different ways, a lot of different ways. So be that, and this is interesting, at the DNA level, it changes the way that your DNA is expressed. That's called epigenetics. But it doesn't just stop there. It changes the way the molecules interact. It changes the way your membranes interact at a cellular level. And then it actually has the ability to even cross-connect different systems, be that your guts, your immune system, your nerve system, in an absolutely amazing and powerful way. And so you look at these foundational molecules and you start to realize, if I get those into my life, I'm going to make foundational changes. And that's the key. We've heard about foundational changes in the way that you act from Lily and Nicole, where you just get out, you get over your fears, you do all these different pieces, and that's a big part of it. But if you can change the foundational chemistry inside of your body, wow, hang on, get going and unlock the power, because that's what it's about. It's really amazing. And we look at some of these foundational molecules. I mean, water is a foundational molecule. It impacts everything that it touches. It's amazing. Same with oxygen. It's a foundational molecule. Nitric oxide, a foundational molecule. Well, you take a step up from that, and you look at these different, you look at butyric acid, that's linked. Acetic acid and propionic acid. And these are foundational molecules that change every piece of your chemistry at the DNA level. And if you get that deep, it just branches out from there. It's absolutely amazing. And so we need to involve those into our lives, and then take a step up from those short chain fatty acids, and you start to get involved in some of the very powerful plant products, turmeric, curcumin, etc. Well, that's tetrahydrocurcumin, which again touches so many pieces of our lives. It's amazing. And then a step up from there, you start to look at NRF2 activators, that's genomics. And you realize that if we put together these plants, if we put together these herbs, et cetera, in a very powerful way, we can have a significant change in our gene expression. In fact, 3,000 plus genes, and you start to make a change in those kind of genes, you start to make a change in your life, your energy, the way you think, the brain fog, all of the different pieces, the achiness, the inflammation, all those start to make a big change inside your cells. The cells then change the tissues then change the systems, and next thing you know, you are changed and different on a very powerful foundational level. It's absolutely amazing. Well, imagine we had all these amazing products, amazing chemicals that we could get into our system, but we had no way to get them past the acid of the stomach or the alkaline of the duodenum, meaning those chemicals, if you will, get broken down into something unrecognizable besides carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, those individual pieces. If they get broken down, which your body wants to do, into those individual pieces, you don't get the benefit. But if we could lock them away, if we could put them into a safe, if you will, that only opened up when we had the exact combination, and that combination opened up exactly where we wanted it to open, then hand delivered, basically. I mean, you can imagine your Amazon package guy, if you will. I've always got the Amazon packages, and they're showing up at various locations. Sometimes they'll be on the side of, I mean, this is a slight, but only a slight exaggeration. It almost like they throw it from the side of the road. It ends up in this community collection area, if you will. And I've actually had multiple packages stolen from this area. And then the next level is where they'll drop it outside my front door, and that's better. But and I'm talking about my office, not my home, but that's better. But still, somebody walks by and they just pick it up and it disappears. Or you have someone who actually takes the time to open up the door, set it inside, and I get 100% of those packages. I get it every single time. Wow. So again, if you could have the Amazon delivery guy that did that every time, hello, thank you very much, let's go. Well, that's what we've got with the Psylock and DexKey technology. We have a delivery system that doesn't just get it to the stomach, doesn't just get it past the stomach. It gets it right to that small intestine, throughout the intestinal layer, so that it's delivered exactly where it needs to be. It can actually, some of it can be actually absorbed. I should say a fair amount of it is absorbed, especially in regards to the tetrahydrocurcumin, so that it gets into your body and makes this epigenetic change in a very, very powerful way. It's just crazy, all of the little things that they thought about. Just crazy. Now, yes, I am saying that David Brown is crazy, don't get me wrong, but in the best possible way. We have this, David and I have this love-hate relationship, meaning we love to tease each other until it gets to the point that we're thinking, do I like this guy? No, I'm kidding. We have a lot of fun. So, but that's just the amazing pieces that they put together. And you have to understand, this is rare. I have been a part of a lot of different and been approached by a lot of different multi-level products or companies over the years. I've been introduced to a lot of different products, whether they're multi-level or not. And when you find something where they've gone to this type of effort to make sure that the products are amazing, grab hold, because it makes a change on a foundational level inside of your body, and then you can make changes in the lives of people that you connect with these products. And then you start to look, and we've alluded to this a little bit, but I'd like to retouch base on the fact that once these foundational products start to get into the body, it interconnects all of the systems. So this has a profound effect on the digestive system, on your gut. Absolutely amazing. The link is the butyric acid is the preferred food source for your epithelial cells. Those cells are the cells that line your gut, your lungs, your blood vessels, and your skin. And so just by taking that alone, you're going to, and you give it's the preferred food source, how happy is it going to be? Pretty happy. That means it works right. It does its job. That's absolutely amazing. Well, you start making those kind of cross connections between all of those different systems, your gut, your lungs, your skin, your cardiovascular system. We know this has a profound effect on the nervous system, and it's an immune system modulator. Now, that's a big word that basically says it tells the immune system to balance out and work right. So there's a lot of different things that will affect your immune system and make it hyperactive. That's a problem. That can be everything from autoimmune disease to allergies, etc. Or make it sluggish. That's a problem, because then every infection that comes by, you get sick. But if you have a modulator that balances all of that out, that's extremely powerful. Again, this magic trio that we have, and I know we're working on additional products, but this magic trio does that. It's absolutely amazing. And then again, we talked about just some of those key pieces, but I want to close with this. And I've made a big emphasis on the products, because that's my forte. But anytime you find a company that has the right products, and I guarantee you, this place does. I'm a little OCD about making sure that I don't endorse anything that is not amazing. This is amazing. Right products. You have the right people. This is because if you don't have the right people at the top, they're changing company, corporate, all those things that impacts all of us downline in hopefully beneficial ways if you have the right people. But if you don't, then they're looking out for themselves more than you. And we have the right people. And then the last is the right process. And the process is what Lily and Nicole did an amazing job at teaching, which is getting in, introducing people to it, figuring out duplication and training, and then hold on and watch your company, your business, you individually, watch you grow and change in a very powerful way. I'll just tell you this, you're in the right place, you're with the right people, you've got the right products, and now it's just a matter of, as Nicole so expertly said, get over your fear, get over yourself, look at fear every day in the morning and say, I'm not going to be dictated by you, I'm going to change my life for the better. And this is the place to do it. And I'm really appreciative of the time. I'll turn things back over to David, Stu, or whoever is going to run with the ball from here. Thank you so much for the time, everyone. Take care.
Thank you, Dr. Earl. That was great. We are grateful that you came here. I don't know about you guys, but didn't there seem to be some common themes that ran throughout all of the presentations, from Lily to Nicole to Dr. Earl? It was not just about getting out of your comfort zone. And let me just take a brief minute to explain a little bit more about my first meeting with Dr. Earl. He definitely got me out of my comfort zone, okay? I was dealing with some issues with my shoulder. In fact, I'm going to be back to see him again because I'm having some more issues with my shoulder. And he said, well, I think I can give you some shots of, and it wasn't of drugs, it was of ozone and vitamins, and I'm not sure everything it is, but I trusted Dr. Earl that it would make sense. And so he did get this huge needle. It was about this big around and about this. No, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but and he sticks it in my shoulder. Now I'm just like everybody else. I don't really like having needles put in me, but what I like even less is when that needle is moved around to hit this direction. And now he moves it a little bit into a different direction and he's squeezing things into my shoulder. It was a little bit uncomfortable. It was definitely out of my comfort zone. And it always cracks me up when doctors say, well, you're going to feel a little bit of pressure. Okay. Pressure is a doctor's word for pain. Okay. Just remember, pain and pressure mean the same thing. And, you just can feel a little pressure. I'm like, yeah, right. But what happened is that discomfort that I felt getting out of my comfort zone, within a day or two, the inflammation in my shoulder and the bursitis I was feeling and the tendonitis I was feeling in my shoulder, I mean, unbelievable difference. And so I can attest to the fact that if you get out of your comfort zone, at first, it's not going to feel good, but it can lead to things that will help you feel a lot better in whatever it is that you're doing. I was thinking about what Lily said about duplication. That really is the point, okay? The obstacle that a lot of people run into and never seem to really be able to overcome. And I think that it reminds me of what Jim Rohn once said, a famous motivational speaker. He said, don't wish you were easier, wish you were better. Don't wish for fewer problems, wish for more skills. Don't wish for less challenges, wish for more wisdom. And the good news is you don't have to just wish for any of those things. You can develop it. Again, if you're willing to develop a capacity for being comfortable with discomfort. Ian mentioned at the beginning of the call that we were in El Paso this past few days. And I was able to see Nicole and Noemi Vinale and Rosie and the whole gang down there. It was great. And, it was interesting. I knew that people had gotten out of their comfort zones by virtue of how many people were there. I don't know. We probably had a little bit more than 100 people. But out of those 100 people or so, do you know that 42 of them were guests? They weren't part of ACTIVZ. And all of you can relate to that because you know how hard it is to approach someone and say, hey, would you like to go to a meeting with me tonight and learn about a business opportunity? That's tough. It's not easy. And Nicole talked about getting rejected. And that's, it's hard to get rejected by anybody, but it's especially hard to get rejected by people that people that you care about, people that you think are really going to benefit from this. And somehow people overcame their discomfort, their shyness, their fear of rejection, and asked people to come and attend this meeting. And to me, the most amazing part of that meeting had nothing to do with me, had nothing to do with Ian, had everything to do with Nicole standing up in front of 100 people like a seasoned pro and talking. And I don't know, maybe she felt uncomfortable, but if she did, she hit it very well. Okay, you could not tell. I thought, man, this girl has been doing this forever, which is impossible because she's very young, so she couldn't have been doing it forever. And I went up to her to talk with her afterwards with her friends Ben and Sebastian, and it was very inspiring to me to listen to them talk about acknowledging that this is not easy, but wanting to develop, wanted to not only develop a business, but wanted to grow and experience personal growth along the way. I just think that is so insightful and so mature that what happens is the more we persist in doing something, the easier the task gets. It's not because the task itself gets any easier. It doesn't, okay? But your ability to do it has increased. Isn't it kind of like exercise, lifting weights or doing something like that? Did you know that science has shown that lifting weights is good for anyone of any age? Okay, maybe not babies. You should probably not have babies lifting weights. But did you know even old people that are like 80 or 90, Brett's like, maybe babies should lift weights. I'm not sure about that. But anyway, they show that even elderly people can benefit. And you know what the biggest benefit for elderly people is in lifting weights? It's not so that they can grow muscles, although you can grow muscles at any age. It's actually one thing that we don't even normally associate with lifting weights. It actually strengthens your bones. It causes your bones to become more dense, to become stronger. And what is that? One of the common problems of people as they get older, okay? Their bones get more fragile, they get more brittle, and they fall and they break things. And so it's one of those things that just is a benefit of any age. Overcoming any obstacle and having resistance in our lives, whether that resistance is somebody that tells you no, whether that resistance is learning about a new product, whether that resistance is getting over yourself, as you do so, you always become stronger. And you'll be amazed at the things that you'll be able to accomplish. I guarantee you that 6 months ago, Nicole never thought that she would be doing what she did in El Paso 2 nights ago. But isn't it amazing if you stand up and say, man, she looks like a natural? And she would probably say, I'm not a natural, but you really are. I really was thinking about what Lily said about duplication. No, we think about the word influencers. We think about social influencers and things like that. But she was exactly right. You know, influencing is not just talking. Influencing is teaching and helping someone else to do something and accomplish their goals. That's how you leave a legacy. You don't leave a legacy just preaching to people and just talking to them and all that kind of stuff. You leave a legacy. You make a difference. You have a true influence when you've actually helped someone overcome a problem, achieve their goals, feel happier, and be able to express themselves. And so as I think about it, Dr. Earl talked about foundational molecules, whether it was butyric acid or NRF2 or whatever. But isn't it interesting that he and Lily and Nicole also talked about foundational principles? And those foundational principles are exactly what was talked about today. I don't know about you, but when Dr. Earl was talking about how these foundational molecules work on all of our cells, did you hear he used the word crosstalk? It changes the membrane and how they work together. I thought, wow, our cells are already part of an MLM, okay? Because they link together and they work together. And if you don't get them working together, they don't work as well. And so it's the same thing with us. When we work together, when we communicate with each other and don't just stay by ourselves, then we do a lot better. That collective energy, that collective wisdom, that collective ability to lift each other up is what makes all the difference. And so I think that as we continue to talk about getting out of our comfort zones, as we continue to listen to people who really have had these experiences, is there any doubt that Lily and Nicole are speaking from experience? They were very sincere. And I think that it was very relatable. Is there any doubt? I mean, can you imagine all the people who have told you no, who say, oh, it's all just a big scam, those products aren't any good? Do you think if they listened to Dr. Earl, that they would walk away saying that this is a scam, that this is not real science? I don't think so. I mean, they might not join the company, but at the very least, they're not going to think this is a scam. They're going to believe, oh, there must be something to this. This sounds like kind of an interesting thing. And so that's really, bottom line, the challenge. Our goal is to not be the message itself. We don't have to be an expert in butyric acid. We don't have to be an expert in NRF2. We don't have to be an expert in anything. We don't have to, there are no magic words. There's no magic approach. The only magic is in overcoming yourself, getting over yourself, as Nicole would say, overcoming your fears and reaching out and being the messenger, the inviter. Okay, we've talked about this before. I was going to say this in El Paso the other night, but I forgot. That's why I'm going to say it tonight. Okay, there's a fun word Okay, it just cracks me up all the time in Japanese. Okay, and the word is wakachiao. Doesn't that just sound like a made-up word, wakachiao? Okay, but it's actually a great word that is full of meaning, because the word wakachiao in Japanese means to share. Okay, and you think, okay, well, it sounds kind of like a child's word. And who's the best at sharing? Well, okay, kids can kind of be a little selfish, but when they have something that they go around, little kids love to share with others in the sandbox. They love to give people a taste of their ice cream or whatever it is. And I think that is the biggest opportunity and challenge wrapped up in the same thing, which is simply to share. And going back to what Nicole said, if you don't really believe in something, it's really hard to share it. All right. In fact, at that point, you're selling. You're selling something that maybe you don't believe in. But when you do believe in it and you just want to share it with other people, people totally get that. And again, they might just choose to make a bad decision and say, no, I don't want to try this. But if they do try it, the one thing that's interesting is that Lily said she found out when she took the products that her results weren't special. That kind of cracked me up a little bit, because they were totally special for her. But what was interesting to me is that she's right. Everyone who takes the products is going to receive the benefits from the products. So it's not unique. And so no one has to guess, am I one of the few lucky ones that might benefit from the products? The answer is yes, but that's not a few. It's everyone. Everyone who takes the products is going to benefit. And the same thing is true of the business opportunity. The results that Nicole talked about and the people that she looks up to are not special. It just means that if you look at the common thread of what everyone has done who's ever earned a check, okay? And I don't know how many commissions we paid out in the 7 years that ACTIVZ has been in existence. I can tell you it's in the total number of commissions paid, the total number of people who have received commissions has got to exceed, I don't know, it's in the tens of thousands. I have no idea, okay? But a lot of people. And so to Lily's point, the results aren't special when tens of thousands of people get it. Tens of thousands of people receive a commission. But to that person who receives the commission, it's pretty special. And they all earned a commission by doing the same thing, sharing it with other people. So I hope that you'll take what was taught today and apply it, that you won't just stick it on a shelf somewhere and think, oh, I'll get to it, because that has as much benefit to you as putting genomics up on a shelf and never taking it. You can believe in the product, you can believe in the science, you can believe that everything that Dr. Earl told you today is absolutely 100% true. But if you don't take it, you get zero benefit. And I can tell you that everything that Lily said and Nicole said today are 100% true. But if you don't get over yourself, if you don't desire to get out of your comfort zone, it won't help. So here's to getting out of our comfort zone. Here's to getting comfortable with big needles being stuck in your shoulder by people who take joy in your pain and agony. And here's and here's to accomplishing the things that we want to do by doing things that start out as being hard, start out as being work, but then that work becomes fun. And that's really what you'll find out is not just because of the results, but because of the journey along the way, the strength that you'll achieve and the relationships that you'll form. So that's what ACTIVZ is. And we're glad to have you today on this Saturday. And at this point, I think I'm turning it back to you, Ian. Is that right?
Yes. Thank you so much, David, Stu, and Becca. Thank you, Lily, Nicole, and Dr. Earl for helping us today and presenting. You guys will see this published soon. For those of you asking in the chat, you'll have access to this. So just keep in touch with our YouTube channel so that you could see this recording. And everyone, thank you so much for being here today. It's been a pleasure, and we will see you next time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much. That was great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you. Great to see you.
That was great.
Thank you, everyone.